Welcome to the American Made and Paid Show, the home of free speech and independent thought.
The big story is freedom of speech is really in trouble. The far left knows that at any time they can call for a sponsor boycott of anyone they despise.
It is right here, right now, where you'll get your weekly dose of unfiltered truth.
It's non-negotiable. Pre-existing conditions will be protected. This president has said this as a candidate.
Insight.
Very few people I know could have handled it. We can never, ever let this happen to another president again.
And information that challenges the American way of life.
Let's talk about the education aspect. Because I think, honestly with you, man, like, it's weird because they're all for diversity, right? But the thing is, Asians, because of merit, will always dominate universities if there was no institutionalized racism, right? Like, if you took out affirmative action, your Harvard, Yale, and Princeton's would be 99% Asians. And not only that, I don't think that
yeah, that's true.
People don't talk about this too, but another thing that would happen, this is unquestionably true, after we've talked about progressive rhetoric and progressive policies, is you start seeing Asians becoming Supreme Court judges. You will see an Asian president in the next 20 years. If you took away that, you would see an Asian president. You'd see an Asian, a lot of these senators, politicians will be Asian. They will be Chinese, Korean, you name it, right? Heads of industries will be Asians. We will take over. Affirmative action and the bamboo ceiling is artificially created. It's not because racism exists, because it's got nothing to do with racism. It's like you have a barrier. You are not good enough even if you score a perfect SAT score. It's like, dude, what is there more than the standardized test and your grades and your academic merits and all of that? And it's like, if everything you can possibly do, which by sort of an equal standard trumps other people, and that's still not enough to get you in, then you know it's a structural problem. But why? And the thing is,
but see, that's institutional racism.
Yeah, I
mean,
it
literally just described institutional racism and how it affects Asians.
Yeah,
that's just what it is, and that's done by design by progressives.
But people say that the root of all institutionalized racism is white supremacy. I don't think it is. I think it's government.
But it is. But it is white supremacy. Progressive ideology. If you're a Democrat, you're a progressive. That literally stands for white supremacy. And that's why it is a systemic problem. See, but nobody understands that.
But I've always said that white privilege and all that stuff is a myth. And I don't think
it's a myth. There is no such thing as white privilege, because guess who gets hurt? See, white supremacy is the supreme white people. That's not like every white person. It's a small person. Because come on, how many people get to go to Harvard, Princeton, Yale? How many people? And now it's to the point where it's only Harvard. In the old days, you could say Harvard, Princeton, Yale. Now you can only say Harvard. How many people honestly get to go to Harvard? Every single white person? Hell no. It's only a small select group of the supreme white people, the supreme progressives, and that's the whole thing about progressive ideology. They honestly believe in a monarchy. They believe they should be kings. They should be the rulers because they're the smartest among us. And they hate the fact, because seriously, why in the hell should they compete with an Asian person?
Well, they hate the fact that we outperform them academically.
Well, see, and that's the thing. Blacks used to have that problem. Not anymore, because now whites took care of them. The white supremacists.
We're next on the chopping block as Asians, and people have alluded to that.
Well, no, but you guys were always on the chopping block. But at the time, see, you got to look at it from a historic perspective. At that time, Chinese people never posed a threat to the progressives. They never did. But in the 1800s, blacks did. So they handled the black people. They created these ghettos. They created all of this stuff. And now, in modern times, ever since like the 70s, Asians posed a threat to the establishment because they start outperforming whites by a lot. It wasn't even close. Like even to this day, If you look at how much Asians make compared to whites, the average Asian family makes $80,000 a year across the country, not just in the Bay Area. Across the country, Asians make $86,000 a year on average. The average white guy is making like, I think they said it was like 55,000 a year.
55, 60.
Yeah, so let's say 60. And then the average black guy is making like 30 something. That's insane. You know what I mean? So how do you stop those very successful Asians from ever getting power? You stop them from entering institutions that will allow them to become the president. Because who becomes the president? People who go to Harvard. Every president in modern times all went to Harvard or Princeton or Yale. Jimmy Carter, where did he go? The only person who didn't go was Trump and Ronald Reagan. He
still went to Penn. He went to Wharton.
Yeah, that's an Ivy League, and he went to some Wharton or something like that. I forgot where he went. But that's a prestigious school, but it wasn't Harvard, it wasn't Princeton, it wasn't Yale. See, because there is something about those three universities. Because Princeton is like the father of
progressivism.
Ideology.
Progressivism originated at Princeton.
Yeah. So, technically, he brought it there. But modern progressive ideology comes from, like you said, it comes from Princeton. But Wilson got it from his mentors and, like all these people following Darwin. I don't know where Darwin came from. I should do more research on him, like what school did he go to? But I don't know why he I'm still trying to figure.
Here's the thing, though. Progressive ideology, and this might be a theory, doesn't have to necessarily be like a factor of just like they all came from one person. I think that at the time you had significant historical events where slavery was being abolished worldwide. And I don't think that racism was eradicated because of that. You could say that America was less racist, before that. America was actually a less racist society, like in 1850, 1860, less racist. Because the KKK only came about, the first wave of the KKK, 65 to 71. It wasn't like during slavery. You didn't really need it.
No. There was the KKK during slavery days. But they were in the army, like literally, like they served in the Southern Army.
But the first Klan came about after slavery was abolished.
No. The general was actually the Grand Wizard, like the second highest general in the Southern Army, the Confederates, was the Grand Wizard. You'll have to look this up. No, but there was the KKK before like during the Civil War. Like there was a KKK. No, it's just a group. You know what I mean? It wasn't like the KKK was just like any other group. It was a bastardized. Like a lot of them were very religious, but they just believed like the way Muslims believe. You know what I mean? It was like a Muslim sect of Christianity. That's how I see the KKK back in the slavery days. They just it's really interesting. Like when you study their history. So the KKK ended, the first wave of the KKK ended after that general surrendered. Once he surrendered, that was it. The KKK was done. It was those Democrats were defeated and the KKK was ended. So there was no KKK, but racism still existed, obviously. It never ends. Because, like, am I racist? Fuck if I know. No, I'm not, because I love white women. No, but it's true, because I always forget. I was like, yeah. So anyway, the whatchamacallit, the KKK honestly came, the second wave of the KKK came back with Woodrow Wilson. So there was no KKK. I'm not saying there was no racist. Progressive ideology still existed. But there was no KKK after slavery, no official KKK. There might have been small clans of this and that, but they weren't organized. They had no money. Because you got to remember, there was no money. There just was no money. How are they going to get funded? That's the whole point. Woodrow Wilson devised a plan to fund the KKK. How did he do it?
Tax.
He funded it through propaganda. And then once the propaganda hit, he was able to get everybody to agree to start taxing people, to develop it, to get, because this is BS. Because, oh, the Federal Reserve is so good. No, it's not. It was built to destroy the black economy that existed already. So they had to get, because in the old days, you would trade for services. And money represented your services, your direct services. Like that's what it was. You could trade for goods.
Right.
And if you didn't really have goods to return, you could give them money in exchange of that. But once the Federal Reserve started, regulating money, and that took, like, you can no longer really serve, like the whole thing for trading services for other services didn't work anymore because, well, this dollar represents a certain amount of gold, and gold is more valuable than an apple. You know what I mean? And that's why it fucked everything up because, you just can't, because people, I don't know why gold is always so, I know why gold is special because, dude, you can do all kinds of stuff with gold.
Yeah, it's very malleable. You can like
you could build like all kinds of like you could build your own electricity. You could build your own power plant with gold. Like people don't realize what you can do with, like, you can melt it down, make it into strings. Dude, there's gold in your computer. It's a conduit. It makes things faster. That's what makes your computer run so fast, is the gold in it. So that gold in your computer,
it's not just something that looks good and feels good, but man, it performs.
Yeah, no, but it's a real element that allows for our computers to work so fast. The more gold you have in your laptop, the faster it works. I guarantee you,
people even
it works faster with. Yeah, because electricity goes through gold really quick, and you can pull, like, you can do it with copper, you can do it with almost any metal, but you could honestly just pull the electrical currents from the air with gold, with all of these wires. Like, you could do all kinds of stuff. That's why gold is so valuable.
Superconductor.
Yeah, it's a super conductor. And everybody knows it. But then people go, well, yeah, people don't know how to do it. It's like, well, they'll figure it out. You know what I mean? It's they'll figure it out.
It's interesting because, like, throughout history, it was always valued, and there's even more practical purposes other than the fact that it just looks pretty.
Yeah, well, people use it for your teeth and things like that. Like those gold fillings.
Yeah,
and that it worked for like medical purposes. Yeah, so because see, stuff like that, when I start thinking about things like that, it just amazes me how these dudes knew about the value of gold. You know what I mean? It's like, without technology, how do they know? And anyway, but that's neither here nor there. But the whole thing about progressive ideology, that is white supremacy. White supremacy is not the same as white privilege. White privilege is a myth, but white supremacy is real.
Yeah.
Because, Sonia Sotomayor, that quote unquote, Latina chick, she's a white girl. She's not black. She's not Asian. She's just an acceptable white supremacist. She's a white supremacist. You think she's Chinese? You think she's black?
No.
She's an acceptable white person, just like Obama. Obama admits that he had no idea what being black meant. He thought being black was doing cocaine.
So here's the funny thing.
He admits to that.
But then people were like, first black president's like, he's not any more black than you are.
Yeah, no, but it's the truth. It's like that. There's a movie, The Green Book. It's actually pretty good because the guy, the white dude driving him, the Italian guy, and it's a pretty good thing because I like The Green Book. I don't know how real it was in real life, but it showed how Italians and blacks just didn't get along. And but this dude needed a job, and this black guy was a doctor of music, and he needed a driver, like a tough dude. And he told him like this. He told him something like, I gotta watch this movie. I've never watched the movie, but I know the story. But supposedly he told him that the Italian was more black than the black man because the black man never had fried chicken. And he goes, look, I know what it is like to be black because I live in these black neighborhoods. I'm poor. We eat the same food. We like the same. How do you not know these black artists, but you're doing classical music? Because he's a classically trained a black dude. And
That's the thing. It's just more of a cultural difference, right? It's like your race and your culture was actually swapped. It's kind of like that Korean girl that you sent me that was raised in like Alabama or whatever.
Yeah.
She's Korean, but dude, she is black. Like, you're not black.
See, but that's my point. Yeah. Why is fried chicken considered black food? Why is like hip hop considered black music? Because they say it's black music. Oh, you like black? Well, rock and roll is black music. How come rock and roll is not considered black music? They invented it. It literally comes from the blues. Everybody knows, like the greatest musicians all give props to the Mississippi Delta.
Yeah,
they always say that.
Waters and Sunhouse.
Yeah, so why is that not considered black music? Why is black music stuff about getting shot in the head? That ain't black music. That's ignorant music. You know what I mean? But real black music, if I was to say there was such a thing as black music, I'd say, yeah, it's rock and roll and all its derivatives. Anything with the guitar is black music because they're the ones that use it, da-da-da-da-da. But, they never get credit. Black stuff like black dancing is some bullshit twerking. And you know what I mean? But how come swing dancing is not considered black? Because the swing kids or whatever, they're the ones that started it. So,
we should, you've built a compelling case. I mean, progressives are white supremacists.
Yep.
Literally.
That's what they are. And I'm never going to stop talking about it because people need to know. And until you say it, until these people start to learn about it, it's never going to change. The system is built to stop blacks primarily. And then second, now they have to really focus on the Chinese. Why? Because they're taking over. When there were seriously, like the white supremacists have always been stupid and short-sighted. Because while they're destroying one group of people, another group just took over without them noticing. And then, now they're like, holy crap, what do we do? And now they're working feverishly to stop Asians from ever reaching the goals that will honestly pose a threat. And I'm telling you right now, if once free education starts, free college, it's over for Asians. Can you imagine? All the Asians have to start going to ASU. Come on, that's bullshit. You have to go to Arizona State. Well, what's at Arizona State?
Well, it's a good school.
No, it's a crap school.
No, it's a great school. What are you talking about? It's a good school.
Arizona State is like going to
no, it's a good school. ASU? Yeah. It's easy to get into.
No, it's okay. It's about as good as San Jose State or San Diego State or Cal Poly.
Yeah. It's a state.
They're respectable, but they're not Harvard.
No, I know.
Even Berkeley. Like Berkeley used to be a badass school. Now it's a joke. You go to Berkeley, it's like going to ASU. It's the same level of school. But all these schools are like, here's the thing. If you can't be taught like real physics, real math, because like, here's the thing. You really need to know your math. I hate to say this, but if you're going to make some kind of like drug, I don't care if it's illegal, like meth or, naltrexone or whatever the drug.
Meth.
Yeah, no, but it's true. You got to be spot on with your math. You're not going to learn that type of math at ASU or Berkeley. You're not. You're not going to be a great chemist coming out of Berkeley or ASU. You're not. You're going to learn the same old crap that everybody's doing, nothing new. Because you really got to be on top of your theories and be able to predict certain things in order to make things. And you learn that on the streets real quick. I'm not saying I was baking anything, but if you want to be a good baker, you got to be able to predict how these chemicals react. You're not going to have those clinical experiences at school anymore. You're not, but you'll have it at Harvard. You'll have it Stanford is like the Harvard of the West. See, like if there's a good school to counter the Ivy League, that's Stanford, because Stanford was the first and only school to be colorblind. They only accepted you based on your ability. Affirmative action does not apply because it doesn't matter where you come from. If you are broke and poor, You don't have to pay. Somebody will pay for you to go. You don't need a scholarship to go to Stanford. They offer it to you based on your ability.
Yeah.
So if you go to Stanford today and you come from like the hood, guess what? You don't have to pay. Well, you have to pay something, but you don't so here's how it works. At Stanford, you could go for free if you're broke, but then you have to work a certain amount of hours depending on your major, and then you work it off. So
you are paying for it just with a different transactional.
Well, you're not paying $120,000.
No, I know.
But but you have to pay literally they knock it down from 120 to and then we're talking everything, 120 for everything, your lodging, your books, everything.
Yeah.
So what happens is you, instead of paying the 120, if you're a rich person, because you could be black and rich and you got to pay the full thing. But if you're broke, you just pay $6,000 a year. But
nice.
You got to work for it, and they take it out of your pay. So they give you a job, you work at the stadium or some bullshit like that, and they take it out of your paycheck. That's it. And then you got some spending money, and then you don't have to worry about how you live because, they're taking out that $6,000 a year from your paycheck. And that's how it works at Stanford to any kid, regardless of their race or color or anything else. It's just,
do you think that Stanford could be an institution that would combat the progressive rhetoric?
What they do, the Hoover Institute out of Stanford.
Oh yeah, Thomas Sowell, the economist we talk about, he works out there. Yeah. So
they have progressives there, but the majority of the guys at the Hoover Institute are not progressives. They're all conservative. I don't know if they're religious or not, but they're all I don't know how respectable, but I respect the fuck out of Thomas Sowell. Condoleezza Rice, she's
brilliant.
Cool, but she's iffy on a lot of, because she doesn't have the same experiences because Thomas Sowell,
Thomas Sowell was a Milton Friedman fellow. That guy,
Well, to me, he's I believe he came from a ghetto. You can tell who's ghetto and you can tell who's not. A ghetto dude would admit, I ain't working. Seriously, I'm not gonna work. If someone's gonna give me money not to work, I ain't working. Because why would I? Who's that stupid to work when you can get the same shit for free? Why would I work if I can get it for free? I know he's ghetto because he understands that. Because that's some ghetto stuff that he was saying. I'm thinking, and I know Ben Carson, he's a little ghetto, but he's
he's soft-spoken ghetto though.
Yeah, because not everybody.
He won't antagonize no offense, a black guy would. He just doesn't.
But that's the other thing too. Most black guys in the ghetto, they don't antagonize because they don't want to get their asses kicked. Not because there's Ice-T even sang a song about this, something about bitches. Oh, some of y'all N-words are bitches too. It's funny because he describes how a lot of guys.
Yeah, they're not all. They're not all macho men or whatever. It's just
but I like he was talking about this one dude who used to get his ass kicked, took karate, still got his ass kicked, and then he became a cop, and then he started beating people up, because you know what I mean? Yeah. But that happens too. It's oh man, I love Ice-T's old music. Not all of it, but he has 3 or 4 good songs that I just love because he really hits how the ghetto is. And it's the truth though, and Thomas Sowell's he's ghetto, he came from a ghetto and he knows because that's how it works. It's why would you work for anything if you can get it for free? And then, but the thing that sucks is an appreciation never grows. So you never grow to appreciate anything. When things are given to you for free or whatever, and you don't really pay for it, you don't appreciate it. And that's why so many of them are bad at relationships. Because, in a relationship, you got to appreciate the other person. But you'll never develop that in the ghetto because you get everything for free. So how are you going to appreciate anything?
That's the thing, right? So it's just, it kind of just takes it out of you indefinitely. And then you just don't want to hustle anymore. You don't really know it until, you're right. Kind of makes.
But that's the argument for religion, though. See, because I was so anti-religion because I didn't really. But see, being with the counselor now, I understand it now. And I don't understand it because God, I wish I had your understanding. But I'm starting to understand things like appreciating and just trying to look out for other, because you can't be selfish your entire life. That's you're going to destroy everybody, because you got to think about the kids. And that's the thing too. You know who Anne Rand is, Anne Rind, or whatever her name is. So her philosophy I really like, because you got to look out for yourself. Seriously, because she was an atheist. I'm an atheist. You got to look out for yourself. If you don't look out for yourself, you're done. You're toast. But she always said, but you got to treat people good, because if you don't treat people good, they're not going to do what you want. So you kind of have to be a good king.
You're an atheist who actually believes in a God, though.
Yeah, because she's full of shit, because it doesn't work. Like, that's not reality. Like, in reality,
I mean, from what you've deduced, you're pretty much sold. Like, there's got to be a God. There's just...
Yeah, I'm not sold on Jesus, though. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's the thing, because, like, it's because, there has to be a God. There just has to be. There's just no way that... Because here's the thing. With superimposing elements, controlling how gravity works, there is no way that there can't be a God. There has to be. Somebody made this. There is just no way. Like, and what they've seen out of black holes, I'm telling you now, everybody thought no light was coming through, but yet the pictures now show light is getting through. Not light that we know, but a different type of light on a different spectrum. So the whole notion of what we knew of black holes, it's all garbage. And that's why I know time is curved, and time manipulation has to be possible. It's this whole thing. Like, I'm still working on the math on that, but black holes are a myth. Time is curved. We can still see the past and the present. Like, that's how God is. Like I believe we can be able to do this at one point, but if it's true, God could see the past, present, and future, because it is curved. Time curves, just like space. Space is curved, and we are expanding because of the heat. Like, all of these things create this massive heat, but gravity helps everything from colliding, and then we're expanding out, keep expanding, because that's the nature of, like, so many elements, so many chemicals. We just keep growing. And but the only way how it works is through a sphere. And that's why everything has to be curved. Like, time is curved, space is curved, and that's why God can see everything as he sees it, because we can, like, I mean,
hold on. Yeah, I think my mind was just blown. I had a little bit of an epiphany, because you said everything is curved, right?
Yeah, it has to be.
It's funny how our planet is a globe. Okay, I'm not a flat earther, not by slight.
That's bogus. Oh, Earth is flat.
So curved Earth, it's a globe. Space is curved, and we always refer to being able to see all things as having a 360 view.
Yeah. And that's the thing. So how can we see something that happened 1 billion years ago? Seriously, how can, like, when we
see
the
light's taking a while. I mean, think about it, 200 million light years away. It takes 200 million years for you to realize it's gone. Or another thing,
we're seeing it simultaneously.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. See, and like, okay, so like when I read Genesis, I'm telling you, I am convinced it is an instruction book. And I'm telling you now, like, it's I don't know, like, I don't even want to get into it, but I'm telling you now, it's just too much. But this type of stuff is just insane. But when I listen to most physicists, I'm thinking, God, you guys are so clueless, and because they honestly just don't know how certain things honestly work. They just don't, and at some point they just got to say, you know what, we don't know. There has to be a God. And
there's, you know what, that is human, though. There's nothing wrong with saying, hey, there's got to be a God. Doesn't mean that you've checked out. It's just,
yeah, because I believe there has to be some sort of instruction book so we can get to a certain place. Like, because I don't need.
It's called being united with Him. That's the instruction.
Well, no, I heard, because some Jewish dude was telling me how they don't believe in heaven. But I don't know if that's true. But he told me that. He goes, we don't believe in heaven. I'm like, what? I thought everybody believed in heaven. I was like, no, we don't. I said, Jews don't believe in heaven. This is heaven. And we're going to have, I don't know. I don't even want to get into it. But going back to this education thing, it's white supremacy is real, and it's very different from white privilege. White privilege would mean every white guy, like Eddie Murphy did a really good joke about white privilege. So, Eddie Murphy on Saturday Night Live, he painted himself white. He goes into the bank.
Yeah.
Well, first he goes in as a black man, and he's denied a loan. He's denied all these things. But when he goes in as a white guy, there's secret places for the white people, and then they just give them money and all. That shit don't happen. That's why it's a joke.
Yeah.
But it does happen for the white supremacists. I guarantee you, Sotomayor gets all kinds of perks and privileges from going to Harvard, going to whatever school she went to. She didn't go through anything hard. She doesn't know anything.
If people are complaining about Ivy Leagues being so white, just like Oscars being so white, then do away with the institutions that created it, which is affirmative action, which is why I'm glad this whole fair admissions. See, okay, so this kind of relates back to what we were talking about earlier with how Asians, it's happening to Asians now. Here's the thing. I think there are some people that are suing. I mean, it's happening right now with the Harvard affirmative action lawsuit, but that's the idea. If that goes through, it could do away with that. But the thing is, progressives or white supremacists can't have that. They can't have Asians dominating their universities. Right now,
so they'll lose.
Yeah.
They'll lose in court. I'm telling you now, they're already going to lose because you know why? There's something called disparate impact in Title VII.
Disparate impact, yeah.
Yeah. So that's and because of that, it's unintentional policies that destroyed the community.
Right.
The Asian community has
Thomas Sowell talks about that with criminal background checks, right? If you took out criminal background checks, you're less likely to hire a black person because statistically black people commit more crimes. But if you impose a criminal background check and a black person passes it, you're actually more likely to hire them, and you're not going to racially discriminate. You only discriminate even if he was of wrongdoing or not because of the overarching statistic. I love that example. It's Thomas Sowell has a great way of breaking it down. It's just like,
see, I never heard that from him, but I'm gonna look that up.
You know that cops, if they knew that you were free, like they knew you had no criminal background, they're actually less likely to racial profile you. People racial profile because black people commit more crimes.
Yeah,
13% of the population commits over 50% of the violent crimes. It's like, unfortunately, so if you're a good black person, you're impacted disparately because of the statistic. You could be a good black person, or sorry, not a good black, but
I get what you're saying.
You're lumped into that statistic because 50% of violent crimes are committed by 13% of the population, which happens to be black. And it's the same thing with education. Asians do better, like 90%. Like we're talking like as far as like if you were to evaluate most Asians that apply to the Ivy League,
or 100%.
Yeah, you're doing better than any other demographic that comes through these admission windows, right? But that's the thing. It's like,
but that's a fact, and everybody knows that. No, but
everyone knows it. Yeah, like in fact, I almost get tired of saying this to people. Like, how are Asians discriminated against? I'm like, I feel like I don't have to repeat myself. Asians do so well, yet they are excluded from the most elite universities on the planet.
And that is done by design by white supremacists. It's true. And that's what people see, because I'm telling you, that's why I really want to just drive that idea home that white supremacy is what progressives do. They don't need the KKK because they have white supremacists called progressives. When you're running the country, you could do whatever you want. But the problem is nobody has ever called out any progressive and told them, hey, your policies are really racist. Come on. When did any progressive when did any conservative ever say that to a progressive? Just call them and say, hey, man, you're a racist from all your policies are racist. They're meant to destroy communities and exclude people from including your own people.
Well, because here's the thing. People don't like when people read laws, right? The progressives, and this is the brilliance of Wilson. He had a way of rallying most of America. Okay, this is where FDR is a genius, right? We look back on FDR and we think FDR saved America out of the Great Depression. No, he didn't.
I know.
And the thing is, he introduced, but here's the thing. When you are somebody who doesn't know the historical context, and I don't blame people for not knowing this, if you don't look at minimum, okay, let's take minimum wage as an example. We can talk about it here. Minimum wage sounds good, right? Because it means you get paid more. It just sounds good. The thing is, historically, Black people were willing to work for less. And here's the thing, what happens when you raise the minimum wage? And it's happening right now. $15 entry-level jobs, people with college degrees can't even get them because you've raised the minimum wage. And those people who try out for this stuff, it's like, who are they going to select? Are they going to select a more experienced white person or a Black person who could also do the job, but he's priced out of it because of minimum wage?
Yep.
And it's price fixing, which means it also hurts the businesses too. So conservatives are all pro-business, right? But see, here's the thing. I'm going to draw the distinction right here. Conservatives are opposed to the minimum wage because it's not good for business. Your payroll costs go through the roof when you raise the minimum wage. But the conservatives that you've educated me on, like you and me, we know that not only does it damage the business, it means the minority will never be granted the opportunity to work. And secondly, gentrification. And that's where conservatives fall. Conservatives will not say what causes gentrification. They say, oh, it impacts businesses negatively because now we have to pay more money for payroll. Small businesses close down. Guess what else happens? You get forced out of your own homes. When you close down your small business, it means you can't live there anymore because you can't afford the overhead. So when your minimum wage goes up, gentrification also goes up. And people are like, oh my God, why are we, it's like, it's got nothing to do with tech companies coming in. They're there because they're the only people who can afford to be there. But it's not their fault.
But check this out. The Bay Area is the perfect example of what you just said. Literally the perfect example.
I'm saying that because I lived on Fruitvale Ave. All I had to do was walk down the street, talk to the shop owner. It's like, hey, well, what if the minimum wage goes up? Oh, yeah, so-and-so's taco stand closes down. That's the only real correlation. Gentrification is tied to the minimum wage. It is tied to the minimum wage. It's not because Amazon came in and made 25,000 new jobs. Nah. If that's the case, you could hire more people. You could hire more street sweepers for all you know. If you have a minimum wage, there will be people who take those jobs, and you would still have communities where people who are colorful, minority communities, would still be there. Dude, I lived on Fruitville for 2 years. Every time the minimum wage went up, more people moved out.
Because exactly. They can't
afford it anymore.
Yeah.
But
and
see,
then
that's
they
the
drive
thing.
an
People
hour
don't
and
know
a
that
half
stuff.
from Stockton or Modesto to work in the Bay.
But see, here's the thing. Conservatives need to talk about that. So when you say you want to drive the progressive truth, which
white
is
supremacy,
it's racism. The thing is, you cannot address the whole free market and businesses getting hurt without addressing the fact that the minimum wage is racist and it causes more gentrification to happen.
See, but the thing is too, and it wasn't a secret. This isn't like a big secret.
But people don't talk about. But most surface level conservatives don't know that. You ask them what causes gentrification.
Literally in the history books. Like if you read all that crap that Woodrow Wilson did in 1913 when he became president, he literally wrote that down. He literally wrote that, the rationale behind minimum wage, the rationale behind the IRS and the Federal Reserve, and those policies are identical to what's happening now in 2000. And I'm thinking
100 years later. I think he knew this.
And it's amazing how
he
nobody
knew this was coming. I think. Or you just kind of like foresaw this. Like if I instill this, and this, progressives that would come in the future, like FDR.
LBJ,
right? Every 30 years, it's like there's a new progressive. So this is how I look at it. There's Wilson, there's FDR that came 30 years later, LBJ, and then you got Bill Clinton. All of them. You think about it, right?
Crazy.
Every progressive president that comes every 30 years, destroy it. Guess who's eligible in the next 10 years? Bernie Sanders or AOC? So every 30 years, there's a progressive that comes in and destroys.
Look, if AOC becomes, because here's the thing, like Obama just put everything Clinton did on steroids. He did not care. He just put his foot on the pedal and he goes just full force with this progressive ideology. But going back to what you're saying, when you look at that time period, like, from Wilson, FDR to LBJ, remember what was happening. Blacks were doing well. So what happened? Wilson came. Blacks were doing good, were getting better. They were gaining ground.
Mm-hmm.
FDR came. Blacks were gaining ground again.
60s, LBJ shows up.
Yeah.
Blacks did well. And then what hurt the black community in the 90s was the whole 3 strikes you're out rule. Clinton.
Yeah, exactly. See, and that's the thing.
Dude, wow. Well,
when blacks, but here's the thing. When blacks do well, like they were in the 50s, they were doing better. Not perfectly good, but they were doing better.
On the road to doing better. Yeah.
Yeah. And what happened? Like we said, LBJ. But now when you're looking at things, oh my God, because like I said, Obama did what no other president could ever do. That was decrease the black population. And that's when Asians became a target, because they have to figure out a way to get rid of Asian, dominance. Because seriously, if white supremacy is real, why would they tolerate Asian supremacy? Think about this. The media has done its best to try to take away Asian women from Asian men. Because you go to Korea, China, Japan, they really push white people. Look at anime. And, Japanese anime, big old boobies and big old round eyes and shit like that. I'm telling the media does a very good job at trying to make everybody love white people. And it's just how it works. It's just like a mind fuck.
But why is it that white people are also under attack in this country?
No. See, white supremacists do this. See, because that's the whole point. The white supremacists want to hold on to their control, so they keep it to a small group of people. There is not 10 kings in a kingdom. There's only one king and his family. The queen, the princesses, the prince, the dukes, the earls. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. That's what people have to understand. There's like a white supremacy isn't every white. That's why people confuse white privilege, which is a myth, to hide the fact that white supremacists are here to control what they have. Everything, like if you look at history throughout mankind, has always the people in charge want to hold on to what they got. And that's why I'm really interested in the Bible, because I'm thinking that's the beginning of recorded history.
Well, okay. So here's the thing. And every major civilization also falls from within. It's not because of an outside force.
And
how do you think Rome crumbled?
They fell from within. So in this society, America is now the new Rome. So how would America?
Dude, you would love the Bible, because the Bible talks about that. The kingdom.
Really?
So there's a part in the Old Testament, like, well, I don't want to get too much into it, but Daniel interprets Nebuchadnezzar's dream. Nebuchadnezzar was the king of Babylon at that time. And, there's a whole statue thing, head of gold, shoulder.
Dude, all that's over my head, but go on. I don't know. I don't know these stories.
But anyways, the thing is, a lot of this stuff is predicted. A lot of stuff is known. Like in the end of the Bible, America is referred to as Babylon the Great, the whore, because she just gives out stuff to other countries, foreign aid, for example. Right?
Yeah, well, that's what's happening now. That's
what I'm saying.
But here's the thing. Let me jump back, because I know it's almost 3, so I want to get this in real quick. So no, I know. Gosh darn it, we could probably go for another
3
hour.
hours. Dang.
No, but I'm telling you, no, because dude, this is like, you have no idea. So let me say this really quick. Okay, so because I know people are going to get confused. They're going to say, this drag dude is crazy, but this is the truth. Right now, the white supremacists have been ruling the states ever since Wilson came in. He is the new God. He is not God. He's like an atheist dude. He is God. People worship this man. He is a white supremacist, and his group of people and his lineage, whether it's FDR, LBJ, it's the same lineage. So right now, they already destroyed blacks. It took a black-looking man to finish off the black community and black America in America, where we're totally ineffective in this
Yeah,
country.
blacks are not doing well in this country.
No, even we got so many millionaires, good business, but we will never ever pose a threat to white supremacists. So who is going to pose the threat? Asian people. Asians have been true and strong, and they keep to themselves, like not keep to themselves like they're segregation, but they keep true to their conservative philosophies. Like you're very strong in your faith, and you have that, and because of that, you pose a threat to somebody who calls himself a god, and so they have to now go after the Asian community. And how have they been doing that? Through media, by making people, like if you look at K-pop, them dudes are getting like the nose surgeries and their eyes like women. You know what I mean? And the women get their eyes double eyelid bullshit, and you know what I mean? Like there's surgery for stuff like that. And if they can get them not to go to Harvard, not to go to Yale, if they could exclude them from ever getting real power, that's how they maintain their power. But I'm a big believer that the Asian community will be the ones that actually save America from the white supremacists, because they underestimated Asians from the get-go.
But also, here's another, and I said this many months ago, but identity politics doesn't work on Asians. If you think about it.
Yeah,
they
don't give a fuck.
No, it doesn't, because anything race-based that has to do with Asians kind of doesn't fit the mold. Stereotypes, right? Like, except for maybe the stereotypes, but the stereotypes don't really harm us that much. Like they don't work against us actually. And that's why I always said, it's like, if you ever want to, like Asians, like, I don't know how Asians can be victims. Like, yeah, you were discriminated against, but Asians like cannot be you just can't. Like, and the victim narrative actually doesn't work.
Be a victim. The whole thing about being a victim is BS. No black man can be a victim. Like if you get beat up by a cop, you sue. And then you get money. You know what I mean? You're not a victim. You just got paid $100,000.
So that's the thing, is like, I think that what I learned also on this call is that it's funny how connected all of this is. And it's not even a conspiracy, because it's true. Who was in Woodrow Wilson's cabinet at the time was FDR. Who was in FDR's cabinet at the time was LBJ. He was serving at the time during the Depression under the Democrats led by FDR. And then you got Clinton, you got Obama, and then I'm predicting, I don't think the next president, like not 2020, I'm talking about 2024.
Yeah.
I think the next president will be a Democrat. It'll be a progressive.
No, but
there'll be that progressive will finish off Asians unless Asians do something about it in the next 6 years.
Yeah, but you know why? Because there's too many Asians pushing that free education stuff. Andrew Yang.
They're brainwashed. They don't know anything.
That guy, no, they want the power. They fall into it. That's the point. The white supremacists are smart. They allow other people power. They let them in. Like Sotomayor, she's a Hispanic person. She's not typically like a typical Aryan, but she is an Aryan, but not the blue-eyed one. But guess what? We'll let you in. You want to be a slave master too? You want your own little plantation? You just come and do what we say. Become a progressive and push our ideology, and you could sit in the kingdom. I'll knight you. So people like Obama, so like if this is like a monarchy, like I see progressive ideology as a monarchy. You got the king, and that was Wilson, and then you have his descendants, FDR, LBJ, whatever. But people like Sotomayor, people like that Liu guy, the Liu that was Tom Liu, I believe his name.
Yeah, Congressman Liu.
They're like knights. They sit at the round table. You know what I mean? And they like that because they are in control. They're part of the group. They're part of the gang. And that's why they do it. You will have Asians who will want to be a part of it, just like you have black people who want to be a part of it. And that's what's happening right now. And but I believe there's enough. Well, I don't know if there's enough Asians, but if you're any indication of what Asian people are like, then yeah, I think you guys are our last hope before we become a monarch, like a monarchy state,
a socialist monarch totalitarian state.
Well, because at least in socialism, there's a chance at overthrowing the government. But now we're heading for like where these guys are. It's like a theocracy. You know how everybody's afraid of a theocracy, like a religious state, but that's what this progressive ideology is. It's a religion. These guys, come on, it's like a religion, like
It's
global
funny
warming.
because okay, are
There's
you
a religion
familiar?
to these
Yeah,
people.
yeah, but it's funny how a lot of what you're saying reminds me of what Tariq Nasheed talked about with
Who's
white
that? Who's that? I don't even
supremacy.
know who he is.
Well, he's progressive, but he spouts white supremacy talking points, but I just don't think he knows as much as you do because, like, it's progressivism. Like, racism exists, white supremacy exists, but I think conservatives, right, don't like, especially with the groups that I'm affiliated with, I talk to, we tend to think of it like this: that there is no white privilege, therefore there is no white supremacy, and therefore there is no institutionalized racism. But it's between the lines. There is no white privilege, but there are racist whites that are in control, and there also are certain institutions that are in place that do oppress people, just not the way we would like to see, just not the way that we're taught, not the way that we see. It's more implicit. So that's what I'm trying to say, is that I don't think before this I wouldn't have said that. I wouldn't have said that like institutionalized racism doesn't exist. I think it does. It just doesn't exist in the sense of white people own everything, because it's a certain group of white people. There's an evil group of white people, not all white people. So white privilege doesn't exist, but there are white supremacists. Like, not denying that racism is a major problem in America doesn't invalidate the fact that racism doesn't exist, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I want to read.
But what I'm trying to say, Steve, is that, or Drag, is that people are stupid, because when you say one thing, they blanket it, when in reality, it's not. Like, there are racist white people. Racist white people are responsible for progressive policies, but it doesn't mean all white people are racist. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
But when you talk about this, people kind of just take one point and roll with it. It's like, oh, white supremacy exists. If you're white, you must be a white supremacist. It's like, no, idiot. Look at history. Look at progressivism. Progressivism is racism.
See, but they don't want to do that. Oh my goodness.
Because it takes, you know why? It takes more research. It takes reading between the lines a little bit more. Because here's the thing. If it was that acceptable, we wouldn't have to have this conversation. You would just know it. It's because we're not encouraged to have this, Anyway.
Okay, so let me read this really quick. This is what institutional racism, like the legal definition of institutional racism that the counselor's trying to get recognized in the courts. Institutional racism is the historic practice of any government agency, federal, state, or local, or corporation, or individual wielding power under state authority for the public benefit or the public convenience, the denial of civil rights against African Americans and Chinese Americans through developing laws and enacting said laws through the administrative process that usurp the Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment, Sixth Amendment, 13th Amendment, 14th Amendment, in exchange for any type of government benefit, be it financial favor, appointment, or any type of state authority for the public benefit or public convenience not afforded to individuals who do not partake in discriminatory practices. See, now that is solid, because that explains it perfectly.
You want to send me that? That's a perfect description of it, because it explains everything.
Yeah, I'm telling you now.
It explains everything without generalizing, is what it does.
Yeah, because
that's what you need.
And it points out who was it built to destroy. Because when people say Asians, they don't mean like Japanese or Filipinos or Laotians. It was always the Chinese people. Why? Because they have a history, and throughout world history, of being dominant. And it's the same thing with the black people. Not all blacks, just African Americans.
Yeah,
Why?
Historically, China was the most powerful country at one point, but after Mao, it's like, it kind of got taken back a few steps.
Yeah, but they were doing good in the United States.
That's true. And that's what happened, is people who fled the communists, like my family, came here and it did well.
Yeah, no, but and the same thing happened with the slaves. The slaves did well on the East Coast, the Chinese did well on the West Coast, and the government had to stop both groups from ever dominating. And that's what white supremacy is. It's not, and the thing is, white supremacists will stop other white people outside. That's why it's for people who partake in it. Because a lot of whites, they don't give a, they don't care. They don't want to participate. They're not racist. That's why no Republican ever owned a slave, because they thought it was wrong. Like, I can't own flesh. I don't know why they thought that, but owning somebody was not right to so many white people. So, white supremacists will attack other whites. This is what they do. And they will invite other blacks or other like-minded Asians or like-minded Hispanic people to join their little group so they could all control it together. And because for whatever reasons, all of these white supremacists or progressives, as they call today, they love being in charge and controlling everybody else who thinks differently than them. And the beauty of the Constitution is to protect those who have different ways of thinking than the majority, or those who are in the ruling class. And that's why, we always got to protect it, because it's the only way. That's our only self-defense.
The thing is, because they had seen this happen with Rome, they had seen this happen with Greece, they had seen this happen in Europe, right? The founding fathers kind of knew that something like this would happen.
They knew. They predicted it.
Yeah, that's why you have the Electoral College. That's why you got First Amendment rights, Second Amendment rights. It's like, dude, if we have to return to a militia where it's like just like local, you know what I mean? Like, and that's why, dude, if you got $1,000 a month, talking about UBI from yesterday, you just buy a gun. Every month.
I'm not kidding you.
Start an armory.
And after a year, then I'll start buying bows and arrows, because I want to be proficient in both, shooting guns, and because eventually you're gonna run out of bullets, and then it's pretty easy to make an arrow, just start shooting away. But anyway, geez Louise, man, I'm telling you now, because I really wanted to hit back to what you said about the going back to allowing certain people to be a part of everything. Somehow, some way, religion was taken out of everything. Because I noticed this, like, a lot of dudes in the streets, when they get out of prison, they find God. And I see, like, I believe, like, the guys who started the Constitution all came from a ghetto somewhere. You know what I mean? They left the ghettos from England or whatever, and then they came here. And I don't know. So
you don't draft that up if you came from a position where everything was given to you. It was
that's why they're able to predict it.
But doesn't that make perfect sense? Think about it. What were they running away from? King George III, a dictating monarch
who thought he was God.
So you see what I'm saying? It's like, there's a reason for why. Because here's the thing: had they failed, had they not gotten their independence, guess what would have happened to them? You'd be cut into pieces. You would be murdered, cut into pieces, and be made an example of. That's the consequence.
Yeah, exactly.
So, talk about it.
Parallel to modern society is these people think they're gods. They really do. Like at the beginning of this podcast, we talk about that guy in the video, but he was thrown out because those gods in those buildings have a lot of protection.
That's true, man.
But that's how I see it. All these guys have godlike complex. But think about it. At the end of the video, you see this woman coming out from she parts the sea of all these cops, and then she goes, "Give me your paper," and then she floats away back to the tower,
back to the heavens. Yeah,
that's insane. But I'm telling you now, there is a parallel to what's happening way back then and happening today, and I believe that.
Look,
yeah, it's crazy.
The thing is, mankind has been on this planet for thousands of years, civilized men. So here's what I'm going to say: if we think this is anything new in the vast recesses of history, it's not. It's just part of the cycle. You know what I mean?
That's why I believe everything is curved. I don't believe in it. Like, infinity doesn't exist. It's like the number infinity itself, because we are in a sphere and everything. Like, I believe like the whole thing with 360, like if we multiply that by 360, so it's 360 to the 360th power. then everything starts to repeat itself. And that's the repeat. So therefore, since we could predict everything and things are repeating, infinity itself is like, oh, there's no such, because we can't count that high. It's like, yeah, because we don't have, we just don't have the knowledge to really
infinite just
understand
means
these
no.
things.
Infinite to us means no beginning and no end. Just
Yeah.
but God.
But a circle has no beginning or end. It's just a circle.
I don't want to blow my mind.
But do you see how that is?
Yeah, that makes sense. Anyways, we got to wrap this up though. Real quick, I'm just gonna stop the recording in a second.
Yeah, go for it.
Professor Dreg and Zach King here, American Made and Paid. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you all in the next episode.